Good evening and welcome back to Keskalokil, my dwarven fortress by the sea and mostly not in it anymore, where I kind of ended up turning it into a model railway. Well, not really a model railway, but we started building a roller coaster and then I started wondering about signalling systems.
And then since you discovered that you could probably basically more or less implement block signalling with,
Yes.
Suddenly.
Yes, I basically went, I can actually do I think I can do an adequately safe railway signalling system in Dwarf Fortress. So, obviously I need to. That's what I was thus spending slightly too long on last time, in part because I didn't have an adequate production line for mechanisms, and we are going to need mechanisms. What I realised is actually there's not much you can do in a craft stores workshop. Choose the correct workshop, you stoat. In a mechanics workshop. You can make mechanisms and traction benches, and we've got traction benches. So actually I should reconfigure this workshop so that it will only take from that stockpile, so that no dwarf goes and lugs stone all the way up from the quarries. It already has a large wheelbarrow limit because it takes a lot of wheelbarrows to lug the stone up. Of course, what I could try doing is actually building a railway down to the quarries in order to get stone faster. But or I suppose I could start making my mechanisms out of metal instead of stone. Wonder what skill you need to make mechanisms out of metal. Let's just type mechanism into the thing and then type it in without the spare comma at the end into the wiki. See if it will give me the answer. So it only needs one metal, which is quite cheap. So metal mechanisms can be made at a metalsmith's forge from 1 bar of metal and 1 bar of fuel. Metals using a work order. Mechanisms made using a work order will use a mechanics workshop, but with the same labour and materials. You didn't tell me the labour. And any type of metal can be used. So I can make billen mechanisms. Billen being my standard valuable but fairly plentiful metal. We've probably got a fair amount of copper from melting down enemy armour. I'm just thinking that like something that doesn't require lugging a phenomenal amount of stone up to the surface might. Right, so I reckon. So mechanics install mechanisms. I kind of assume that they also make them. So I'm kind of wondering, assuming that everything there we've just read is true, if it might be worth experimenting with metal mechanisms. Let's at least see how much billen I've got. And then I need to also rearrange my IRC. Yeah, my hope is that this is the session that's going to make where the signalling is going to become interesting. Last time was frankly rather too much buying cheese instead. Like we do actually have an awful lot of crossbow bolts to melt down. Let's assume those ones can be melted as well if we can find them. Well, I recycle them by melting them down. No, we don't do ranged attacks in this fortress. We run up to them and hit them with axes. It's very effective. As I understand it, there is some weird bug in this version, around this version of Dwarf Fortress with training people in ranged weapons as well, which is like not actually the reason why I don't do not doing ranged attacks. Is mostly that ranged attacks have annoyed me in previous versions, and so I went, let's just go for the simple approach of dressing my dwarves in steel and giving them battle axes, or
FHA approach.
something like that. Yes, we've never tried catapults. To be fair, we did make some attempt at ballistas, to some good effect occasionally, in that they're a pretty decent way of exploding zombies. Anyway, what am I after? I'm after bars. So yes, we do have 65 copper bars lying around. We've got 42 steel bars. I should make something good with steel. I'm not going to make platinum mechanisms. That would be silly. We've only actually got 18 billum because we keep turning that into jugs, and then selling them full of royal jelly, because that's the easy way to get rid of royal jelly. I think the copper we've got has come entirely from melting down the kind of bar we appear to have most of is soap. We have got quite a lot of copper, and like the nice thing about metal bars and coke is that they are much lighter to move than rock is. Do I establish a mechanics workshop just to make copper mechanisms? Like, it's a bit faffy, but now let's try to make rock ones and see if we end up failing because we don't have enough supplies of rock. And if that happens, then I'll try making them out of copper. Right, so don't think you can make mechanisms out of soap, sorry. So we've got, here we have, let's just demonstrate this system. We have a demonstration signal. Where, and I do need to do something about the frame rate in due course, like maybe expel half the dwarves, where we have a pair of counter-rotating rollers. So here's someone coming to demonstrate it, if the minecart goes into the counter-rotating rollers, it just bounces back and forth between them. So that's essentially a red signal. And then if you operate this very oddly named lever, that clears the signal. No, you can't make beeswax mechanisms either. It has to be metal or stone. If someone comes along to operate this lever, which like they surely will in reasonably shortly, someone is scheduled to operate that lever. Here they come. Then that turns off the right-hand roller and the minecart carries on. So that's how we build a signal. Train detection is going to be slightly more interesting. I think I know how to do route setting, but that's going to come later. And it probably won't be it'll be automatic in that I won't have to be involved. Dwarves will handle sending minecarts along the correct route. So I think that bit's easy. I think converging junctions are actually the hard bit. So what we're going to need for train detection, is we're going to do axle counters, or more accurately, minecart counters. And the minecart counter will, because we don't really have a way of detecting axles, but we have pressure plates which can detect when a minecart passes over them. And then we're going to need some way of counting, obviously. And since we're only counting minecarts and you can only have one minecart in a section, in a signal section, we only need to be able to count to one, which means we only need a flip-flop, hence the title of the stream. And the fluid logic page on the Dwarf Fortress wiki provides what looks to me like quite a simple kind of flip-flop. So I plan to try building one of those. Well, okay, I plan to try building a lot of those. So we're going to need to build a system for a general flip-flop, a kind of register, really. Well, not really a register, because we'll only operate one bit at a time, but a large collection of flip-flops.
So that square you were looking at a moment ago, that seemed to be telling a story.
Which one? I don't know.
That one, yes. Turnip had some turnip wine and some vomit and then some blood.
Yes.
Someone didn't have a good day with that turnip wine.
There's lots of blood here because it got washed out when we flooded this area. So I think we thus need a reservoir that will contain water and then a power rail, i.e. a long tunnel full of water under pressure. And then we have the flip-flops come off that. Rather amusingly, we don't really need a drain because the flip-flops work by destroying water rather than actually having to have it drain away. What does the wiki call this? It's like the dwarven equivalent of CMOS. Advanced complementary fluid logic gates. And it kind of is the earlier in the page. There's a different logic family that is blatantly TTL. In that it involves flowing water, whereas the complementary fluid logic involves static water and is therefore much more like CMOS and less like TTL. So I think what I want to do is to build. I think my plan is to have my high pressure bus bar going along somewhere around here, and then to have the flip-flop sticking off to the side of it and have it powered by a pump running off the river. So I think the reservoir will want to be in this gap just south of the windmills that drive the swimming training. I don't know how big the reservoir needs to be. I suppose it ideally wants to act as essentially a decoupling capacitor. So it needs enough capacity to be able to switch all of the flip-flops without running out of water. So that would be quite 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's about 20 flip-flops. So about there will be about 40 flip-flops. So I think we might be able to fit in 50 flip-flops in the space. So we wanted the inside to be about 50 squares. So that's enough to, I think we need to be able to put 1 unit of water, or maybe we need, yes, I think 1 cycle of a flip-flop is 1 unit of water each, though I think they use 2 of them when they're setting. So we want somewhere between 50 and 100. 100 is going to be an awfully big reservoir. Let's just make it big. Also, I'm going to run out of material. We've got quite a lot of marcasite blocks there. I mean, I could make this out of wood, but then I'd run out of wood instead. Right, there we go. So I did think about just plumbing the high pressure bus bar into the sea some distance below water level, because we know you can get really high switching speeds with that. But we do also know that you can completely flood the fortress. So this is a slightly more controlled size of reservoir that, like, we might actually be able to not cause catastrophic flooding with. Let's temporarily suspend one of the walls from construction so that we can get at the inside for a bit, because we're going to want to install a pump. So we should...
Pausing draining the sea, that's surely a public static void main. See something vaguer from
Yes.
yes.
So I think we only actually need to make a 1 square hole in that wall to put the pump in. Oh, and we can't walk along the wall to get to it because there's along the river retaining wall to get to there, because there's a gap in the river retaining wall. Let's put a bridge over it. No. I'm sure we've got some blocks left, yes. Because we're going to need something to operate this pump. So then, where does the bus bar go? So each flip-flop has a door, a pressure plate, and a door. So, and then I think we can just run the bus bar along there. That will obviously mean we have to have a gap in the flip-flops here, but like, that's fine. We'll be building flip-flops like this. This will have the disadvantage that you have to drain the entire thing in order to adjust any of them. But I think trying to make it possible to do maintenance on it while it's running is probably just going to make everyone unhappy. Oh, my bus bar is slightly to the north of my entire reservoir. Right, well, in that case we'll need to have the supply come in, well, there, I suppose. Well, actually, no, that's silly. Let's have it supply the bus bar as far east as the reservoir can. Indeed, we could just have a small notch in the side of the reservoir in order to get it up to the bus bar, couldn't we? There we go. So then obviously we need some drainage system which will run the water down into, which will allow us to drain the water back out again. We could just run it into that upward pump stack, which would be kind of weird, but it'll work. So we would just have a downward hole. Don't we want to? That's where the pump stack actually is, isn't it? Yes. So we could just have a downward hole there, and then something that goes this way with a lever controlled door in it. I mean, that's very simple and in approximately the correct location. Might take a little while to drain. Maybe we should do another drain further along that like drains down into this drain or something. But we can do that later. Like let's build a small number of. Don't actually want that many flip-flops yet. Like if we can build. Let's make ourselves enough space for 4 of them for now. And we're also going to want some walls to seal this with. And then we'll want some kind of a platform to build the windmill on. So now there will be a bit of a delay while everyone gets all the pieces up here. So if we want to test this, I mean, I suppose we could probably do reasonably well just with 1 minecart and two track sections, couldn't we? I mean, I suppose we could test the train detection first without having it able to actually control the signals. So, and then we could start having it trying to control the signals. So we're going to need some pressure plates. We want a pressure plate there that is a minecart triggered pressure weight, will operate on any minecart. And then, well, let's assume that we're going to we'll make a symmetric thing with 2 signals as our second thing. So we'll have another minecart triggered pressure plate 180 degrees away from it. Right, so now we're going to want to build a pump. I'm now slightly worried about whether I've upgraded and the arrows now go the correct directions. Well, we'll find out. We'll build the pump and see which direction it pumps in. I think. Let's quickly look up screw pump in the wiki and see if there's a note that that the stupidity only applies to certain versions. Which is so it says the default is pumps from the north, which is the centre top option in Dwarf Fortress Classic. I think they've now turned the arrows around, but put the buttons in the same place. Right, let's try to believe that. And therefore that is the pumps from west option. No, that's not where we want it. It still has the problem that you can't tell where it's going to go unless you've built one recently. I have to click on the flat side. Right, that's now going to be built in the correct place. All being well, it will also be built from the correct side, and the dwarf building it won't shut themselves out into the river.
However, dwarves are involved.
Oh, we do need to dig a bit more out because we're actually going to be filling it from the east. There. So now we can get at the top of this. We now need to fill in enough floor to power the pump. I think our usual arrangement is that you alternate. Oh, I don't know which hole you can power a pump from when it's powered from above. Oh, maybe I have an example over here. So that's powered from that square, which is the destination side of that pump, right? So that would be the equivalent of that square. So we leave that central square open. We're probably also going to need some way of actually accessing the flip-flops once the thing is built. Suppose we could just have like a staircase down into the bus bar.
I keep thinking the bus bar is something like the rest of the car on a train when you're on a bus. I suppose it have to be one of those long distance buses that goes all the way across the USA or something where you have time to have a drink.
Sadly, you don't have space. That's why you stop at bus stations every so often.
Is there a miner actually going to come up here and mine some things?
Probably quite confused by being told to go up to the surface and mine things. That's not normally how it works.
Yes.
Open cast mining is totally a thing. It gets less and less of a thing as time goes by, because there's less and less stuff you can open cast mine. But
Particularly in Greenland. I mean, I suppose that's true. In Dwarf Fortress, the landscapes tend to start off fairly unspoiled, and maybe there is stuff on the surface you can still mine.
That's only 2 squares of space. How annoying. I'm going to have to demolish the track stop because I've put it in the wrong place. Oh, no, I can do better. I want to experiment with a different kind of signal, don't I? Yes. What I want to experiment with is, can I build a door across the track, and what happens if I do that? I can't build a door directly because I have to have a wall next to it. Okay. Since we're making the railway out of wood, we'll make the things that operate the or that hold the doors that operate the railway out of wood as well. Are you mining that hole from a really odd location? You are. How can you dig it from up there? Can you dig it from up there? Are you in fact just stuck? Oh, you're paused. That's what's going on. Sorry. You think time works that way, or something like that. Because one thing I'm curious about is how we do, is if we can arrange that a minecart doesn't even set off until the track section ahead of it is clear. Um, so now I should be able to build a door there. And then we can make that a mechanism controlled door. Yes, I suppose it probably is quite damp down there, isn't it? Right, so the way that I'm going to need lots of doors, aren't I? Let's set to making yet more wooden doors. Because each flip-flop requires 2 doors. We're also running short of wood again, so let's cut down some more trees. Is that actually marking those? It doesn't seem to be. There's something wrong with the way. Oh, because I'm still. Oh, that's not actually the tree cutting button, right? Yes, that will help. You can't mine trees; you have to cut them. That's better.
You can mine trees after they've fossilised.
Yes, yes. But I mean, we do have a small amount of petrified wood at our disposal, but. And I kind of want to build things out of hazelwood, simply because that's what we build things out of here at home. It's what our garden grows, largely at the insistence of the squirrels. Apparently, Keskalokil also has squirrels, given the density of hazel trees. Probably be quicker to find suitable trees. Oh no, they all look much the same at this time of year. I mean, it's not that we actually have a shortage of tree-based food anyway. Like, we've got plenty. Problem with cutting down willows is that half the logs end up in the river. But they are at least easy to find. I mean, the trees, not the logs. Well, that's selected a few more things to cut down. Yes, the merchants can go. That's fine. We bought 1,000 units of cheese off them.
Are you Andrew Jackson?
We are a largely vegetarian fortress, it appears.
This is only because your ability to try and fish and get dwarves to eat fish has not had your reason.
No, we got fishing sorted. I don't quite know how, but we did. It was just that provided so much food that I've stopped bothering to fish. and harvesting the trees provides us a decent amount, and it doesn't quite keep us adequately fed, but trees and eggs and imported cheese are pretty much adequate, and cheese is quite high value food, so dwarves like eating cheese. Right, so the pump's installed. We're still waiting for the floor that will support the windmill. Then we need we need a hatch cover, don't we? And we'll want some levers to operate the water supply and right, I think we're building levers adequately fast, building mechanisms adequately fast rather. So the minecart appears to have been launched. I'm wondering whether it was launched past the through the door, which would worry me. I mean, we haven't yet got the door fully controlled, so. I think we might need to. Have we actually got anyone doing the constructing levers job? One of them. Is that one of our? You're an adequate mechanic. What did I set? Is that the lowest level of person who's actually currently doing mechanics? Yes, okay, I've got 4 of them. That's probably enough.
An ocean wave gets capitalised.
Yes, that's kind of strange.
I saw a thing on Mastodon that made me think of Dwarf Fortress. Someone boosted a picture of a bird which is called, the species is called Anna's hummingbird, and the alt text got the wrong article. It said "A Anna's hummingbird," which somehow made me think of.
Yes, let's put a floor hatch over that access point because people keep walking through it, and I don't like the idea that they might drown if they do that. Right, so that door has been installed, so let's name that. That's the bus bar drain lever, and that will be linked up to that door. And then, right, so we can build the windmill now, but we can't build the windmill until we can safely allow the reservoir to be filled, which requires the bus bar charge lever to be finished. which means that someone actually has to turn up with this floor hatch. Aha, here come some people with floor hatch. No, those are mechanisms. There's someone with a floor hatch. Whether it's the correct one, I'm not so sure. Okay, there are two people bringing in cinnabar floor hatches. So those should, between them, do the job. Right, so this will then be the bus bar charge lever. And will be linked to a very nearby floor hatch, just there. But on the other side, critically on the other side of a wall.
A lever you can pull over here that opens a door in Dorset.
Well, I mean, the entertaining thing is that we can just put all of these flip-flops anywhere, because the dwarves can link them up perfectly well no matter where they are. They don't have to be near to the tracks that they're connected to.
Yeah, how does that work? Can do mechanisms have wireless communication between each other?
We think so. Some kind of weird quantum entanglement effect, I think, is proposed by the wiki. Because, like, just wires would obviously be too simple.
And also too difficult. You have to actually lay the wires, and it might be difficult to get them to go anywhere.
Yes. Right, so we need to get that connected up before we can...
I suppose in a universe that contains, for example, ghosts,
Yes.
spooky action at distance.
It's like actually spooky. I think ghosts can actually do things sometimes. You can sometimes accidentally end up with a ghost that will carry out labours and, for instance, operate levers for you. I'm not sure that they're meant to do that. Right, so have we got any more wooden doors yet? Can I? Not really, no. Well, we'll install one door in that flip-flop, but it's going to need more more doors before it'll work properly. Right, so I think this is the mechanism that will go at this end of the thing. And so at that point we don't need, well, apart from the fact that someone's left a load of worn out clothes in here. Don't care. We shouldn't now need access to the reservoir, so we can close off the last entrance to it and try to build a windmill up here. So basically the windmill goes directly above the pump. The only way to turn the pump off is to demolish the windmill. But like the theory is that this reservoir just stays full constantly and we can turn on and off the water supply, the drain out of it. Want to make sure that this wall is built before the pump gets started. I will suspend the construction of the windmill if it looks like it might not be. That dwarf still walked through. They went down and back up again rather than walking over the floor hatch. That's just silly. No. Well, I am. I mean, not, but they're going to keep themselves down rather than staying high, which is where I want them to be, because that will be less likely to cause drowning. Right, so currently bus bar charge is closed. Bus bar drain is closed. For safety, let's open the drain.
Yes, the bus bar charge is closed.
And the reservoir has now been sealed. So it should now be safe to start the pumps. We just need someone to actually build that windmill, which is going to take a little while because it involves carrying 3 logs up to the top of the riverside wall, which is a bit of a faff. And apparently this mechanic gets to take their cat with them on their, presume it's their cat. No, it's a stray cat. Oh well, maybe the stray cat will adopt this mechanic. Right, so the bus bar drain door is now open, so any water that gets into the bus bar will immediately drain out again. We could build some floor hatches here, not floor hatches, pressure plates here. So what's the recommended depth setting for the pressure plate in an SR flip-flop? It should activate or deactivate, and this is one of the things I'm not quite sure about, at 5 to 7. So one question is, do we have the flip-flop activate on fill or deactivate on fill? Well, it says the instructions say activate, so let's go for the simple approach of doing precisely that, and then we'll discover if it's backwards. I mean, essentially the question then is, how does this? I suppose then that depends a bit on which way round we wire set and reset, doesn't it? No, it's trap, isn't it? Bizarrely. So I want a pressure plate triggered by water at depths far. Okay, how do I turn? Oh, right, what? Right, 5, 6, 7. That was what it said, wasn't it? 5, 6, 7. The important thing is that thus, when the square goes below half full, it deactivates. And that means that you fill it by opening the northern door, which fills both of these squares to a depth of 7. Well, it fills this square to a depth of 7 and may or may not fill that square. You clear it by opening the southern door, which drains those 7 into 3.5 and 3.5, which means the pressure plate deactivates. Actually, I think draining the water from the computer probably will cause the trains to crash. Because, well, I mean, if you do it the obvious way around, you say that a set flip-flop indicates an occupied track section. And so if you drain all the water out of the computer, then none of the flip-flops will be set, and so all the track sections will appear unoccupied.
So I don't spend a lot of time working around hardware designers, but my general impression is that if you say the obvious way around to define this signal would be that high means the thing is on, they flip a coin to decide whether they do that or not.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing here is that I think we have different propagation delays for setting and resetting pressure plates. And so one of the questions is, which way round do we want the propagation delays to go? Right, so here's the last piece of wood for building that windmill, I think, which should then fill up, start filling up the reservoir, which should fill reasonably quickly. I mean, we'll run out of river for a little while.
Yes.
Put the print out.
Was that fixed?
Put your print out.
I can't see it.
Well, I printed it, so you can.
Oh, no, okay, thank you.
Is it on the printer? She said there it is. I know. I was wondering where it was. I bet it's on the printer.
Alright, I can wait.
Right, the windmill is running. Is it not actually pumping anything? Have I got this backwards? No. I got the pump backwards. Yes, the pump's backwards. Damn it.
Gareth, can you see a hair tie on my chair?
Right, that's set to pump from the east. Right, demolish the pump. Possibly for safety, we should demolish the windmill just so that it doesn't start pumping as soon as we re-erect the pump. Because otherwise, the dwarf who is erecting the pump is likely to have a very exciting day. We have, of course, made it impossible to get in there. We haven't made it impossible to get in there. We just have to come in through the drain. Oh, all of the humans are trying to leave over my bridge. Right, so we now have a pressure plate there. We could try to work out how to link that to a gear assembly, couldn't we? So one of these, I hooked this up wrongly. That should actually be, now let's rename that lever to test green and declare that to be the override to green lever. Which is connected to the left one of those gear assemblies, and then we could connect that flip-flop, that thing there, to the right one of those gear assemblies. See if we've got any doors yet. No. Make some doors. There is a make wooden door task pending. That's the human caravan crossing the high bridge over the river. Ah, I pulled the wrong lever like an idiot. Let's pull both levers. That's why no one can demolish anything. Well, I mean, they can probably demolish the windmill, but they can't demolish the pump. They're sticking very close to the riverbank there. That doesn't seem like a wise move. Right, so now it should be possible to actually get to the pump to demolish it. What are you doing? You're cleaning things, okay. You're at least demolishing the pump. Someone has already demolished the windmill. Excellent. So now I can build a screw pump. I think the arrows still... Which one did I choose last time? Did I choose the obviously correct one? Let's choose the obviously incorrect one. Why haven't I got the... Has one of those already been picked up by someone? Yes. Forbid all of those. Forbid and unforbid these objects so that they don't. No one actually tries to put them somewhere else. Right. So I'm going to choose the one that's obviously wrong. And it does actually tell me before when it's built. Don't build it from that side. Good. Really don't build it from that side. I'm going to have to build a staircase to get you out if you insist on building it from that side. On the other hand, that will prove that it's the right way round. Right. And now you've gone to sleep over there. Right, well, I'll construct some way of getting you out of there.
You don't feel anything after sleeping in the mud.
It's too late now. Well, I mean, you have. You've built this pump and locked yourself on the wrong side of it. And now you have to sleep in the mud. Yes. Pumps from the west. It is correct now. But we're going to need to, build a staircase down there. Right, I hope that just building those stairs will be enough. Also, someone's tidied up the random clothes that were lying around. So I think perversely.
By the pattern of water in the river, which seemed to be alternating ones and sevens.
So the 7 you mightn't be able to see is in a different colour.
Okay, yes.
That means that's actually 7 units of water at 1 Z level lower.
Right. Okay.
So you can
They aren't terrifyingly high
no,
microwaves.
they're actually zeros. Right, so it should be safe to start that pump despite the confused dwarf who is currently sleeping in the mud. So let's rebuild the windmill on top of it. All right, all the wood is being hauled away somewhere else. And where are you going? You're walking all the way around the edge of the reservoir. Right, that's the downstairs built. And the upstairs, so now it's probably possible to escape. Yes, good, right. Our foolish dwarf who was sleeping in the mud has managed to get out from where they were sleeping. So now we can close bus bar charge again. How is the order for doors coming? Right, we've made some doors, so we've connected up that thing. So now that door is not yet controlled. So let's have that door controlled by, so that's the reset door. So that one should really be triggered by that. So link that to the reset door. Then we install another door there. And that will be the set door, which will be charged, which will be activated by that pressure plate. I think this dwarf is currently sorting out the windmill. This dwarf is sorting out hooking something up to a pressure plate. Right, the windmill is now initializing and pumping. Right, that's better. That is closed. All the walls seem to be intact. The water is excitingly multicoloured in there, and we can definitely supply water pretty fast. Right, so that's the reservoir filled. Don't know why that square shows in a different colour. Is this, no, there's nothing there. Curious. Don't need more dwarven children, they're always unhappy. Right, so now we have that door in place. So that's the set door and should thus be triggered by the entrance to that track section. But we shouldn't actually try to do that yet, because we need to make sure the reset door is wired up first, because otherwise embarrassment will ensue, because we won't be able to get through this door. But it looks like it's had the necessary setup done, actually, as in that end has been connected, so we can actually make that link. So it's link plate. Right, then once that's done, we can charge the bus bar and see what happens. Assuming like I have any mechanics to do the work. Yes, okay, someone is working on it. But it does involve hauling mechanisms across the map. What are those? Agitated buzzards. Right, that's why the... did you just... Right, yes. Doctor has got bitten by a buzzard and is now fleeing from the buzzards, which is kind of inconvenient. Also, is that a dead goblin? What's that doing there? Thank you.
Just have a fight with a buzzard.
Suspended linkage from pressure plate, interrupted by buzzard. Ow. Oh no, I was going to say ow, that an artery has been opened. No, that's a child punching the buzzard.
The buzzard has been opened.
Yes. The dwarven child is now thoroughly beating up the buzzard.
What happened to the Duke? Was that just still the minecart attack? Minecart incident? Or?
I don't know. We've lost it now. Well, I mean, I could look it up, but I can't be bothered. Oh, have we got some miasma that needs fixing? Yes. Okay, we had a stray dog corpse that needed dealing with. Yeah, the Duke also met a buzzard. Duke of Shoot Test kicks the agitated buzzard in the head with his right foot and the injured part collapses. Which, yes, will probably be quite effective against a buzzard.
Didn't the Duke lose a leg?
Don't think so. I mean, this is only beating up a buzzard. That's very much.
Yeah, I thought last time the Duke had a minecart incident. And
Let's inspect the Duke and see how he's feeling. I think while injured, so he still has a fractured leg, but that's about it. So yes, and he's currently having a bath. Or he's on the way to the bathhouse. He's where is he then? He should be entering this corridor shortly. At which point it will be easy. Yes, that's the Duke, isn't it? Right, yes. Kind of a long way to the bathhouse. And I still haven't rebuilt its roof in porcelain. Picks up some soap. And has now had a bath and is presumably feeling happy at having had a bath. Blissful after a soapy bath. So that's still underway. Who is working on linking that building? Because that's the one thing that remains before we start testing the flip-flops. What are you doing? Where are you going? Oh, you're doing... Is that because you finished that job, or have you just cancelled it again? Everyone is cancelling things due to agitated buzzards, aren't they? Maybe we'd need to send the military in to kill the buzzards. It's not like they're hurting anyone, they're just causing trouble. Yes. So that one's up in the sky and is not a problem. That one appears to be all the way down in our mines. We will send the cobalt tongs to kill that buzzard. That one appears to be in the sky as well. So I think there is actually only one, and it's not actually in a very problematic location, but now I've misplaced it again. Right, buzzard disposed of. Took a little while to catch it, but when you've got a spear, you can kill a buzzard pretty quickly. Right, so how are we doing about hooking up this pressure plate then? Still being worked on. Not actually being worked on at the moment. Everyone's got distracted by the buzzards. We do have one child in hospital as a result of a buzzard attack. At least I assume it was a buzzard attack, yes. Tearing the fat and bruising the muscle in the dwarven child's head.
The child vigorously retaliated.
Yes, I think possibly killed the buzzard in response, but
But still needs a plaster, yes.
has received silk sutures and will get a suitable dressing. Oh, that got suspended. That's why it's not active. Right. Let's unsuspend it again. Maybe this time someone will actually do it. Right. Meanwhile, I think our trade depot is full of cheese. We should probably fix that. We would quite like that cheese to be turned into food. Do we have a problem that we can't store enough? I'm tempted to set up a temporary cheese stockpile. Just to make sure the cheese doesn't go off. Oh dear, there's another buzzard on the ground, biting the cats. While you were out, I worried that that the cheese was all being stored in the trade depot and it might go off there. So I have designated a temporary cheese stockpile, which probably means the dwarves are now all going to shift cheese down into the fortress. There will be no time for anything other than moving cheese. But possibly someone will install this final set of mechanisms. they'll just have an enormous crowd of cheese movers. To deal with. Right, so making the link to the pressure plate. Tangling up with the crowd of cheese carriers. But happily the quartzite mechanisms were quite conveniently tanned. Okay, yes, we have a named battle axe, that's nice.
Was that name not his alias?
I can't remember. Right, so now I think all of the connections are made. So the current situation is that so this flip-flop corresponds with the track segment from there to there, i.e. the right-hand half of this this loop. So it should now be safe. Let's lock that hatch to stop people getting into the bus bar. Check that it's doesn't have anyone in it. Operate the drain lever to close the drain. Not operate the fill lever. Oh, we've accidentally switched out of numbered mode. That's better. Not operate the fill lever until the drain is closed. Right, drain now closed. Now we can operate the fill lever. Come on, same child, do it. No, that would be too easy. So we've got a spare lever here, haven't we? That lever is as yet unlinked. Let's link that lever to that door so that we can actually move this minecart. And let's force the signal to red initially. Someone is coming to pull the charge lever. Oh, yes, here they are, I think. Nothisalis. So there. Right. Charge. Okay, that was pretty quick. We have fully charged the bus bar. So now, once we can move, we do need to link up that door so that we can actually have the minecart move. I mean, I suppose we could have a dwarf carry it round the door, but that would be silly. I kind of want to test the door anyway. So is someone working on doing that link? Broadly speaking, yes. But the cobalt-type mechanisms appear to be quite heavy. This is going to take a while. It's probably why I need to find the lightest possible material to build mechanisms from. I mean, aluminium mechanisms would be quite difficult because aluminium is very rare in this game. Heave, come along. You're an adept mechanic, but you are quite slow at carrying mechanisms around. Right, pick up the next mechanism and then a Gabbro mechanism is apparently not quite as heavy as a cobaltite one. There's still a load of cheese in the trade depot. Like, can we have barrels, please? I presume this stockpile is set up to allow barrels. Yes. I think you should be barreling the cheese. All right, some people are carrying some barrels over there. That's probably going to help. Right, so now if we have that lever pulled, that should allow the minecart to move from its station. So this is essentially somewhere where the dwarves will actually have to push the minecart off to set it going, rather than it being a signal that they'll automatically pass. Right, so now the door has been opened, it should now be possible to dispatch that minecart. Whether anyone will give themselves the job of doing it rather than moving cheese around, I don't know. So the current situation is that the signal is forced to red, but what should happen is that when the minecart sets off, it'll trip that minecart counter there, which opened that door correctly. That door will then close again in a bit, by which time the minecart has reached the signal. Good, that worked. Then if we turn off the force to red, then since the signal is not forced to green, it's a signal. Well, let's find out. Then the minecart goes onwards. We can see that that pressure plate goes to dark purple, indicating it's been triggered. The flip-flop has therefore opened its set door, marking this track segment as occupied. Thank you. Which Simon muttered something about badgers, which should then, were it not for the fact that we also have the force to green lever triggered, would have put the signal back to red. So let's pull that one to turn off to actually cause the signal to go red again. Now, obviously, this is not a very helpful signalling system because we only have one train here anyway. Someone has just dispatched the train again before the signalling system has reset. So that's now our first official reset. The water level is now down to 3, which means the pressure plate should deactivate. But it doesn't really matter whether it did because the signal was already on. So now something is not quite right. Oh no, that's correct. So, but the signal appears to be green in that the roller isn't running, but that gear assembly is running. Have I got my test green lever the wrong way round? Surely you want the test green and test red levers to be pointing the same way, because those should be in the same state. So let's... No, do we? No, the test green lever wants to be in the opposite state. What did I hook that up to anyway? What's it linked to? It's linked to the conglomerate gear assembly, right? And the conglomerate gear assembly is active and the siltstone gear assembly is disengaged, which is surely the wrong state for it to be in. It's possible that the minecart went through so fast that it tripped. No, that shouldn't be a problem, because it's only triggered by one trigger, one pressure plate. So even if we trigger the two minecart counter pressure plates in rapid succession, that will just fill and empty the flip-flop. And the flip-flop is probably full at the moment, which is what it should be because the minecart is in this track section. So have I got the parity of the control over that gear backwards? I don't think I have. I mean, we can construct a temporary lever and flip it, but I don't think that should be necessary. Right, so let us pay close attention to what happens as this minecart trundles. So, current state, flip-flop is full of water, indicating that the track section containing the minecart is occupied, which is correct. That, for some reason, leaves that gear assembly disengaged, which I think is wrong. That's the one that's linked to the pressure plate. If we allow the minecart to advance one step, that operates the minecart detector saying we're leaving the track section in question. So that opens this door, which means that shortly that water will drain out. That means that pressure plate should be deactivated, but it will take a little while for it to do anything. And in particular, that gear assembly is still engaged. Still disengaged, and still disengaged, I think because that pressure plate hasn't actually finished deactivating yet. Which means that we've now hit the second detector, which means we're setting the flip-flop again. Because it's only about now that the that sensor has finally reset itself, like 2 track sections later. And at no point has that mechanism started. Right, let's turn on test. Let's replace the signal to red. So that we can check what happens over a slightly longer time scale, in case this is just a timing problem. But it feels, yeah, I don't think it should be, unless there's something weird, like if you trigger and then if you release a pressure plate and then apply it again, it sends a close but not an open, or an open but not a close. But that feels wrong. So, someone come out and operate this lever, please. Hang on. That one has ended up disengaged. Operate that lever as well. Let's rename this slightly. We think that one being left means the signal is green, don't we? And we think that one being right.
This screen earlier is Dwarf Fortress crossed with Shenzhen IO. But I wonder if it's actually Dwarf Fortress cross Shenzhen IO cross SimSig.
So now, yes. Currently everything's disengaged. Someone is coming out to pull the levers. Well, probably 2 different people are coming out to pull the 2 levers just to annoy me. So that signal is now forced to red. Hang on. I think I've got that backwards in both cases. The signal is not forced to green in that gear assembly is active. It is forced to red because the other gear assembly is also active. Right. And that's what we want. So then the minecart, having tried to reset things, will not trigger that second thing, and everything will stabilise in the reset state where there's 3 units of water there. Right, I think somehow this gear assembly has ended up backwards, has ended up out of phase, because it should be that when you first... So gear assemblies are weird in that rather than being level-based like doors are, so a door, when a pressure plate is active, the door will be open. When the pressure plate is inactive, the door will be closed. A gear assembly, however, when the pressure plate connected to it activates or deactivates, the gear assembly toggles its connected state. This allows for lots of flexibility and lots of confusion. So at the moment, So what I think should happen, when you build a gear assembly, it's connected, because you don't always want it to be controlled. So obviously you need it to start in the state where an uncontrolled gear assembly is useful, namely connected. And we constructed that pressure plate with no water on it, obviously. And so the pressure plate started off inactive. So it should be the case that when that pressure plate filled up, the gear assembly became active, connected, because that the first transition, no, you idiot, it's backwards. Right, yes. When it filled up, the first transition was empty to full, which turned the gear assembly inactive, which is precisely not what we wanted. Right, that's inconvenient. This is why your hardware engineers go and invert half the signals, because though it doesn't make any sense that way round, because would be much more convenient for the empty state to be the signal being read, because that's the one those two are the two that we get when we first build when we first build each of the items. When we build the pressure plate, it has no water on it, and when we build the gear assembly, it is connected and thus operating the reverse roller, and thus the signal is read. So I think, as at least to make this work properly, then we can temporarily build a lever and hook it up to that gear assembly and operate it once and then demolish it. And that will then get everything into the correct parity. But the question is, do we actually then want to do it backwards? The problem is that it's slow, the flip-flop is slow to clear and fast to set. And I feel that you want detecting a full track section to be the state you enter fast, because, well, that's the safe state. And also, I actually want it to be reasonably easy to set every track section to clear, so that we don't end up with dwarves starving to death while riding minecarts. Even if that does cause them to get injuries, because injuries are much better than starving to death. So, I'm a bit uncertain about this. Anyway, we can... let's turn off the force to red, because I think we can set this signal back to automatic now, and it won't. And then once we've done this, messing with the with this lever, it won't. It will immediately start working. So link that to that gear assembly, which is the gear assembly that's already linked to a pressure plate. Yeah, I think if you're going to throw a tantrum, throwing a tantrum by going out and punching a yak is probably quite good.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure who I'd bet on.
Well, I think my assumption here is that the yak will probably not mind very much when being punched by a small child. Right, the dwarves are still trying to organise the cheese. They have started putting cheese in barrels. Also, we have 4 dead buzzards here that no one is butchering. Let us throw the dead buzzards away before they rot. Right, here comes a dwarf to hook up the lever to the gear assembly. Well, they've hooked up the gear assembly end anyway. There's another dead buzzard. So yes, I don't like the idea of inverting this, I don't think. So what would happen is if we had a flip-flop being empty, indicating that its corresponding track segment was occupied, then when a minecart crossed a section boundary, it would quickly fill the flip-flop behind it and thus mark the track segment behind it as unoccupied, and slowly drain the track segment in front of it, marking that track segment as occupied. Which means that there would be a while when both track segments were marked as unoccupied, and therefore another minecart could enter the track segment behind it, go all the way through and catch up with it before things reset. So I think we really do want this in the state where it marks a track segment is occupied faster than it can mark it as unoccupied, which means annoyingly we do need the logic to be, we do need to invert the state of one of the gear assemblies during construction, which is annoying because it is faff and wastes one mechanism. Right, so that's now departed. If I've got this right, we want to demolish that lever again now, I think. So now the state is, well, now things are, I think, still stabilising. Are they? Yes, right. So there was a slight problem, I think. Hang on. So that is now full. That is now all in the correct state. So the signal is red. Because there's a minecart here, that's full. All is well. Right. So now let's wait for someone to come and push this minecart, if they're not busy hauling cheese. We'll observe that everyone is hauling cheese. Actually, not many. Most people are still watching surgery demonstrations. Like, how are you demonstrating surgery? What are you demonstrating it on?
Cheese.
Cheese, yes, maybe. Yourself, maybe. Right, so here we come. Oh, no, you're not going to push the mic. Oh, you're going to demolish the lever, are you? Right, yes. Because I believe that lever is no longer needed. You coming to push the minecart, yes. So the signal is still red at the moment, partly because everything is slow to react. But we have drained, the flip-flop has started resetting, so shortly the minecart is released again. and then the flip-flop fills again, which should have more or less immediately started the roller. Yes, hooray! Right, I think we have a functional single section of block signalling. The other half is not yet signalled, and we only actually have one train. Why are you moving so fast? What are you playing at? No, you don't seem to have anything wrong with you. Oh, you're terrified while in conflict? Who have you been getting into a fight with? What wildlife do we have today? Oh, there are still 2 buzzards up there. Right, I see.
I mean, fighting a buzzard counts as conflict, but not sure terrifying. The buzzard seems to lose fairly quickly.
Well, someone got scratched by one. Right, so I think we now want to... oh dear. But has someone just not moved the rotting buzzard bits?
Oh, agitated buzzard is the species name.
I don't know. It looks like it, but on the other hand, I'm pretty sure it's not. Feel free to hunt through the Dwarf Fortress wiki and work out the answer. Oh, right, someone did butcher the buzzard and then promptly left the meat lying around in the butcher's shop, where it rotted. Right, so I think we should now try making the other half of this loop into a proper track section as well. So for that we need to shut off the bus bar charge and then drain the bus bar. Yay, but it works. You send the minecart around and it sits at the red signal for a little while until the signalling system detects that it's left the previous section that it was in, and then it's allowed to continue. Automatic signalling with fluid logic.
Yeah, no, buzzard seems to be the species name, but it's odd that agitated should...
Then it's still labelled as agitated after it's dead.
Yes.
I shall try to activate that one. Hope that grabs this convenient nearby person. Yes. No. They've got distracted by something else. Right, so the bus bar charge hatch is now closed, which means it should now be safe to whee! Though the system will keep working for a little while, even with the bus bar charge off, because CMOS doesn't require very much water to run. Does require a little bit because each switching operation consumes some water. So we can see the water level is now dropped a bit because there's been a switching operation.
You don't have cold enough winters for these fluid switches to freeze?
No. This would be a much more complicated fortress if I built it somewhere where it froze in the winter. We're quite temperate here. So we have a kind of UPS here in that the signalling system does keep working properly for a while after you turn off the water supply, but eventually it is going to stop working. But that's fine. I'm trying to turn it off so I can add another flip-flop to it. And there, the drain has been opened. The water will all get pumped back out into the river. And then it will be safe to install another flip-flop arrangement. So we need some more water to drain out first. Possibly the drains should be more distributed. Well, can we build a grating over the existing drain for safety? While we wait for the water level to drop far enough that we can build the rest. Actually, we can probably build a door now, can't we? And actually, the water level in there has dropped quite a bit, so we could also install a pressure plate. Oh! But it drains pretty quickly. Maybe we don't. Maybe we can build it the other way round. Because it would be. We could set it up to trigger at 1 to 4 water, and it's the untriggering, not necessarily the lower water level state. No, hang on. That's no good. That just means we've inverted the logic. Water to signal, but the point where we want the logic inverted is signal to gear, and that's the one which we can't invert without screwing the timing. No, okay, let's stick to keeping all our logic positive. That will not confuse me, or at least will confuse me less. And I can actually install both doors immediately. As long as I don't try to connect them to anything. So I'm quite tempted to actually make another hole over here. For extra drainage. Well, that buzzard appears not to have managed to get killed yet. We're still storing cheese. Why didn't I start at... I suppose it doesn't really matter which end I start at. The railway is now working weirdly because the signalling is all balked. So, oh. No, there is a problem. If I want to have, so this signal I want to have operated by a door, and a door intrinsically does have a direction. I mean, it's probably not much of a problem, but we thus can't... unless we construct an inverter, and even that doesn't help us much because it'll have a propagation delay. Okay, what should we do about that then? Do we actually demolish that? I mean, we can make the set and reset sides backwards, which let's do that and be really confused. No, that would be too confused. Let's do this the sensible way. And stick with the convention that a filled flip-flop means a filled track segment. So that means that this one needs to be linked to, so this track segment here, this flip-flop here represents the left track segment, so that one needs to be linked to the door that fills that, which we don't actually want to do at the moment because we want that door to keep working properly. So we've set that job up, but we've suspended it. This one wants to be set to operate the door that empties that track segment, and that one can safely be done now. Right, now we want to build a new pressure plate, and because this is going to be a pressure plate controlling a door, it should be set on 1 to 4 rather than the usual 5 to 7. Right. Rather oddly, it thus doesn't trigger on 0, but that's okay. In normal operation, it shouldn't ever have 0. 0 is a case you only get to when you've completely drained the system. And that pressure plate should be linked to that door. Where are my miners? Why are you not mining this thing? Possibly because you're storing cheese in barrels. So I think I'm mostly waiting for more mechanics to be done. We should possibly have placed a mechanism stockpile somewhere out here. I wonder where metal mechanisms appear. Probably here. No. There's some kind of tool then or something, or finished good. furniture. Right, we have a small mechanism stockpile for storing mechanisms in slightly closer to where they're needed. So the dwarves don't have to walk so far. Right, so that is now linked to 2 doors. Should be. Only seems to show 1 door. Is there still a link task ongoing? That one is listed as operated by mechanisms now. That one still has a link task ongoing, so let's wait for that to finish. Right, that's now linked to that door, which is invisible because it's currently open. No, actually, maybe we shouldn't close it because maybe it's meant to be open at this stage, yes. So it might change its state if we fill the thing with water, so we'll see. All right, someone's finally coming along to do some digging, so let's let that finish. But now that that's linked, we can now unsuspend that linking job. Yes, of course it's damp down here, stop worrying. Autumn has come. It would be nice if the dwarves weren't quite so paranoid about water. Like, most of them can swim. Let's actually undesignate that end. The annual tribute from Akifidale has arrived. Well, we will read the report when it turns up. It's probably not very exciting. Waiting for the miner. Oh, the miner will turn up faster if I unpause. Oops, no, I didn't actually mean you to dig that square. No, look, there's a square for you to dig right here. Oh, come along. Not now, vile force of darkness. How vile, precisely? Oh, the vile force of darkness appears to have cleared off again. It's one of those vile forces of darkness that take one look at the fortress and go, no, no, we're not going there. Now, are we actually going to finish mining this? I would quite like to get this tunnel connected so that we can drain things faster. But, like, I only have a limited amount of patience. Ah, yes. But while the vile force of darkness tends to piss off quite quickly, they do bring goblin thieves with them. The recruit is chasing the goblins. The recruit is getting unhappy. Alright, the recruit is terrified while in conflict. See, but look, uneasy after seeing all those dead goblins. Loathing being out in the sunshine again. But you have a job to do. Which is, if nothing else, to chase the goblin off the map. Possible some other dwarves will come along to help you in a bit. No. All of the goblin thieves have fled. Miners are still not coming to work on this. What's going on? Well, in that case, I think I'm going to try deliberately flooding it again. Let's unmark it for digging for now. That will make it slightly exciting when we come to re-dig it later. Oh well. So close the drain. Open the charge. Hope those happen in the correct order. Okay, no, suspend that temporarily because we don't want it happening in the wrong order. Otherwise, catastrophic Class D current. Right, now that's recharged. So now the minecart railway signalling system should be working again. Maybe a bit weird at the moment because all of the flip-flops are liable to be empty when they should be full and such like, but if someone gives the minecart a shove, it'll reconfigure itself into the right state. Right, so that has marked this track section as empty. It should also open that door to mark the next track section as full, if I've actually rigged everything correctly. Oh dear, I think I missed something. Curses, I think I missed the link to mark the thing as full. Okay, flip the switches again. Someone's pulling that lever, but it's not the child that's 2 squares away. People keep sending the minecart round and round. Oh, I should pay attention to the actual roller coaster at some point, shouldn't I? Now there are 2 children next to this lever, neither of whom is going to operate it. Because dwarven children are perverse like that. Oh no, right, lever operated, water draining, because I think I haven't got that door hooked up. So it should be the case that this, yeah, that does only seem to be linked to 1 door. Is that one at least linked to 2 doors? It's hard to tell. But it did end up operating that door, so I think it is. Yes, there. That door definitely works. But I think that one's link to that door is not working correctly. It cannot link to Willow door. So that door... Oh, cannot link probably because, yes, that door is still So these 3 doors are operated by mechanisms. That door isn't. So yes, I think either I forgot or something went wrong with connecting that one up. Right, well, once we've drained that water out, we can have another go. Oh dear, someone's been run down by a minecart. I think it was one of these ones, but like, yes, there is an injured cat who, yeah, will recover quickly, but is about to be run down by another minecart. Right, so is that enough water out of there that I can link things now? Let me remove that job because I don't trust it. Right. That's now in the process of being linked. In the meantime, let us make at least... Oh right, we've somehow got ourselves in blueprint mode, which probably doesn't help. No. See if we can dig this tunnel, because that will make the drainage a bit quicker next time. So I'm not surprised the cat's dead. It got run down by a minecart several times. I don't suppose you're having to know, well, the body's in the... Oh dear. Are we going to have to drain the swimming training area to get that dead cat out so it doesn't stink the place up? That's going to be a faff. Let's dig this tunnel first. Then we will faff with draining the swimming pool. I mean, we could then try to build the signalling system into the swimming pool. That would be a bit brave. I think another cat is busy having fun with the minecart. Is the dwarf actually going to come and do this mining? Oh, it's probably temporarily impossible to get across that hole, isn't it? Let's build a grate over it so that it becomes possible. I don't think that's relevant, but... Right, if we're going to drain the swimming pool, we need to do that by first It'd be nice to have like a just temporarily don't run it. I mean, I suppose we could make it a very long time out, but that just seems silly. Suppose we could set it to guide west, which is completely useless, but won't hurt anyone. No. Let's just remove the conditions. So that will stop people riding those mine carts while we find the pool drain lever. Can anyone remember where the pool drain lever is? There it is. Well, we managed to dig out that one square, but I was busy distracted by something else. And so I wasn't in a position to immediately mark the next square as for digging. Right, we should mark that cat corpse for dumping. And then we can probably reclaim all of the items down here, at least temporarily. What now? Oh, the caravan's arrived. Give us a moment. We're currently in the middle of draining our swimming pool to get a dead cat out of it. And trying to construct a railway. Right, so that willow door should now be able to be linked up to that lever. Let's unsuspend that task. What did we get by way of... we never seemed to get the that back. We had a batch of tribute arrive, but we never got a report about it. Disappointing. Right, dwarves are now heading into the swimming pool to collect the lost armour in there. I apparently am still not paying adequate attention to when this square gets mined. Someone is linking that building to a trigger. And occasionally pushing off that minecart. I think we refill the swimming pool once people have cleared out all of the armour from it. And we refill the this system as soon as the that link item to we need to pay attention to them as well, but that I'm hoping I can wait until next session for. I just want to do a run with the signalling system working properly. Right, so that's now linked. That door is now marked as operated by mechanisms. We still haven't managed to dig out this extra tunnel which would drain things faster, though we're getting there. So now let's pull the 2 bus bar control levers. Wonder if we could have made those a single lever by using a bridge somehow. Probably quite difficult to do that now without like emptying the reservoir, which would be quite a hassle. Right, the swimming pool is almost empty. Filling the swimming pool requires a bit of care. Okay, that might be slightly exciting. We've accidentally got Class D current flowing there. It would be helpful if someone could pull the other lever quite soon. So at the moment we have water being pumped continuously around in a circle from river to reservoir to bus bar to drain back up into the river. It does appear to be working properly, so that's nice. There we go. That will be a bit less messy. Right, so now let's see what happens. Can you push this minecart a couple of times? Right, that's wrong. Or is it? Let us inspect what's happened. So, okay, that hasn't turned out quite correct. Somehow a turkey has got run down by a minecart somewhere. That must surely be the minecart in the mines, because... Oh, it might be the roller coaster, of course, yes. Maybe it was the roller coaster. That was nice. I think there we saw a dwarf try to push the minecart and then realise that they can't. because there's a door in the way. The only problem is that there shouldn't be a door in the way. But it looks like the... so I should have left a lever connected to that. Maybe I still have. Yes, I have. Because that door should have been opened by this filling up, I think. No, the problem is that this is full and it shouldn't be. That door should have been operated by the minecart crossing that pressure plate, and it looks like it wasn't. That might just be a timing thing though. Anyway, we can now safely refill the swimming pool. So let's operate the swimming pool pump. But I don't want to do the trading tonight because that will take far too long. But I would quite like to fill the swimming pool. Also, work out what's wrong with the minecart signalling. Okay, that wasn't enough to open the door. Right, so minecart sets off, activates that thing, which correctly opens that door and that door, which marks the left. Yes, I know. The left-hand section, which is controlled by the right-hand flip-flop, as occupied, which gives it a water level of 7 of 7. That should mean that the door closes. Closes. Why is the door not closing? It should also mean that it marks this track section as unoccupied because that water level is lower. Which should mean that this signal eventually clears. Right, that signal is now cleared. That means it's passed there, which has opened those two doors, which should fill that, which should set that signal back to red, which it has, and empty that, which should open that door. Which this has not done either. The door is linked to it. It doesn't seem to be operating correctly. I mean, to an extent I don't mind, because that's the, unimportant bit of the system. And now the door's closed. Right, I'm going to say I don't understand that system. We are currently halfway through filling up the swimming pool. we've got a diplomacy request and a caravan. I think I'm going to suspend this for tonight, and we'll come back to it on Friday when I will have not the faintest idea what's going on, because I'm in the middle of about 4 things. So that'll be fun. Until then, good night.